The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012 allowed for U.S. citizens to be targets of propaganda. This opened the door for social media psychological operations to be used domestically within the U.S. However, IIA, or Interactive Internet Activities, the military nomenclature for social media influence operations, still wasn't legal to use domestically, but non-attribution techniques made it possible with little or no detection. With these propaganda acts that allow propaganda like the Smith-Mundt Act, I mean, do you find that this timing was actually the military-industrial complex trying to regain control?
Absolutely. Why did we make NPR? Why did Congress make NPR? Why did Congress make the Corporation for Public Broadcasting? They made it because they knew there was a potential back with television and radio that either corporations or our government could maliciously use these technologies to do bad things to America. So we made these nonprofit organizations to hopefully provide some sort of a bumper, although those have been abused at this point as well.
Why does this keep happening, Mrs. McGrady?
Well, racism is like a disease. If you don't treat it, it's just going to get worse.
You've got the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012, which helped what was called provide IIA the keys to the kingdom. That was what we wanted, the keys to the kingdom. Because it was such a problem for us, how do you disseminate information on a chat room with a bunch of Iraqis who are sitting in Iraq, but that chat room's on a server somewhere in the United States? How do you do that without violating American law? And plus, how do you do that with ensuring that an American's not going to see that post later on, which does not have attribution for it potentially, right, and be influenced by it, because that's illegal?
Well, everyone, good afternoon. On behalf of Fred Kemp, our president, and the entire Atlantic Council family, dedicated or focused on countering propaganda and disinformation act. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with this year's presidential campaign.
Yeah, when John Huntsman came out back in March or so of 2016, trying to promote the Disinformation and Propaganda Act, focused on Russia. In the middle of the night of 2016, they come out with the Disinformation and Propaganda Act. It's a massively, was $180 million government program that's funding nothing more than the Atlantic Council. It funds social justice NGO programs to determine whether or not something's fake news.
If you look closely at the writing of the act, under Section 2, Sense of Congress, it states the United States government should develop a comprehensive strategy to counter foreign disinformation and propaganda, and assert leadership in developing a fact-based strategic narrative. And an important element of this strategy should be to protect a free, healthy, and independent press in countries vulnerable to foreign disinformation. There's only one problem. The act makes no mention of domestic propaganda and disinformation. One could argue that this act was done to prevent Russian interference in the elections. However, if sophisticated non-attribution and misattribution technology is used to make domestic propaganda and disinformation appear as though it is foreign, then these two acts together actually made domestic propaganda and disinformation legal, opening the door to sway elections and go after political dissidents in the name of protecting a free, healthy, and independent press.
They say, well, we're stopping propaganda. We're going to stop this fake news. Who's going to stop the fake news and the propaganda? The government? And the politicians? They're the ones who propagate all this. They're the worst producers of fake news. And they're going to be in charge of watching us?
Since the 2016 election, the use of domestic propaganda and disinformation through the dissemination of fake news on both sides of the political aisle has escalated to the point of nearly destroying our First Amendment, the Constitution, and the social fabric of our country.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. I think you get the idea there, what's going on. All these anchors and all these markets are required to read this script. Really what it's doing, it's kind of like the Fox Fair and Balance slogan. It's a way of saying, we're fair, everybody else is biased. We're fair, everybody else is biased.
Russian hacking and meddling in the presidential election.
That there was Russian meddling.
That Russia meddled.
The Russian meddling.
Russia's meddling.
Russia was meddling.
Russian meddling in the presidential election.
The only thing that can stop this is the full and complete exposure of the fake news industrial complex.